Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Red Sparks Crypto Blog for all your crypto, Cardano, and Algorand related news, analysis, and tutorials. Today, we're going to take a very quick look at Algokit. Emphasis on the quick. Algokit, if you're not familiar, is the programming toolkit developed for Algorand, which makes it very easy to get started with coding smart contracts on Algorand. So this is the developer portal, developer.algorand.org, and here is the Algokit webpage. So you can, to get started, you can click on Algokit, and it'll take you to this page, which is just about to pop up. And blah, blah, blah. Oh yes, so the first thing was installing all this stuff. So I had most of this installed already. The only one that gave me a little bit of a headache was Pipex, and I say a little bit of a headache, mainly that for Windows users, I found that this installation did not work for me. Instead, I had to go to this website and actually use these commands over here. So I'm mentioning that in case you have similar issues where you run the original sort of commands, which are this version here, and you find that it's not actually doing anything. Okay, so do that and then get Docker and all these other bits and bobs installed. Then after that, what you do is you just run pipex install algokit. And then after installing, you can run this command here, algokit version, just to make sure it's installed correctly. And you can see I've got the latest version there at the time of recording this video, which is version 1.0.1, which is later than this guy over here. Okay, so now I can start a local blockchain network on my local machine. So no need to rely on anything remote. And the way I do that is I run this command here. This will now set something up using Docker. And so that command has now finished, and that's what it sort of looks like. Move that back there again. And if you go into Docker, you'll actually see Algokit Sandbox as I've got listed there. But here's the interesting bit. You then, to get started, type in Algokit init. So if I just type that in, and let me just expand this a little bit. This gives you different options for starting, and the documentation tells you to start with Playground. So I'll press enter on that. Name of project. So I'm just going to call this Hello World 2. I've already got a first one. And that will now set up a template for me. Do you want to use Algokit Bootstrap? Yes, I do. Interestingly, when I first ran this, I did not have Poetry. It detected that and it said, "You don't look like you've got Poetry installed. May I install it for you?" And I thought, "Oh, that's rather nice of you. Thank you very much." So now it's done all that. Would you like to initialize a Git repository? Not for this guy, no. And now it's spun up Visual Studio as well. So it's really holding your hand here, taking you through everything. So now let's expand. So in Visual Studio, there's the Playground folder with the Hello World sort of contract. So this in particular is the smart contract. And I believe this file then calls that smart contract. So this spins up a local server and then calls it. And I just zoomed in for you so you can take a better look. But down here you see it's calling the Hello World smart contract. And up here it's spinning up a local server, which I presume is for the web interface, but possibly also for the local blockchain as well. It might be two in one. I'll have to investigate this later. And then so this demo file, we can actually execute that. So run Python file in terminal. And so that will be compiling the Hello World contract here into this artifacts folder, and it gives us this application.json file and also the approval.teal files. Sorry, is that the right one? Yes, that's right. The approval and the clear, and I actually talk about this later on. But this, by the way, this is teal. This is the lower level language of Algorand. So it's a bit like assembly code. Or for those with a Cardano programming background, this is a bit like UPLC. So this is a lower level language that you don't really want to be coding by hand, but thankfully that's taken care of for you. The Python code here compiles down to that. And I believe you can also code in JavaScript as well and have it compile down to Teal. And you can actually generate these files without actually executing a transaction. So what we just did when we ran demo.py, I don't know if let me just do it again. Run. Okay, so when we ran demo.py, we actually executed a transaction on the local chain, on my machine. So there's a transaction ID. But you can actually generate these files, these artifact files, without actually executing a transaction if you just needed these files. And you do that by right-clicking on build and running that in the terminal. So now there's no transaction, but it has compiled that. Now, if we hop back to the tutorial, Algokit has a local transaction explorer. So if you run this in command line and execute that, you will end up on this dapflow site where you can select between your local sandbox or any other public facing testnets. So that's pretty impressive. And then from that local sandbox, you can then see all the transactions that you've been making on your machine. So I think that's really, really cool, especially the fact that you can flick between the different ones there. I'm very impressed with that. The other thing is if you click on dev wallets, you can now create a local testnet wallet here for this sandbox testnet. So here's one I've already created. And after doing that, you can click on Beaker Studio over here. And imagine I hadn't already done this once already. Then you'd create app over here on the top right. And then you'd browse to that JSON application.json file we just saw in the artifact folder, which then gives you your Hello World app. So you now create that. Transaction successful. So I guess that means that my application has been deployed on the smart contract has been deployed on my local net, local chain, local net. Let's call it local net. And there's a transaction relating to that, I guess. Going back, okay. And so yeah, that's really it. This is how you have how you create the smart contract, how you create a dev wallet, how you deploy it to to whichever net that you want. So I guess if you wanted to do deploy it to one of the other ones, you could do that as well. You just need to have the equivalent wallet set up. But all in all, it's I haven't even explored all these other things. But all in all, it's pretty impressive how integrated everything is on Algorand. I'm definitely looking forward to playing around with it more. I haven't obviously in this video really studied the coding. So this hello world.py file, for example, but I mean, it's Python, so how hard can it be? And it's opening this up for external calls. Okay, I get that. Some inputs and output. I think what I read somewhere is, whereas with Cardano scripts, it's the validator or the validation script has to give back a binary yes, no, to say whether a transaction should be allowed or not. With Algorand or Teal, it's more like they have a stack of instructions, and then once all those instructions are executed, the bottom of the stack has to give back a non-zero integer. In fact, let me just hop over to the documentation here to explain that a little bit better. So there's two types of functions that a smart contract in Algorand has. There's the approval program and the clear state program. The approval program is basically the main smart contract logic. And as it says here, the program will succeed only if one non-zero value is left on the stack upon program completion, or the return opcode is called with a positive value on the top of the stack. I'm not quite sure what that means. And then they've got a clear state program. This is if you got any funds locked up in a contract and you as a user want to just completely eliminate yourself from that, withdraw it, take it out. This is the function of the clear state program. It's supposed to always allow end users an easy way to extract themselves from any contract. And so you have a separate sort of channel of coding that you do for that. So definitely looking forward to learning more about Algorand and all this stuff. But this was just meant to be a very quick introductory video, and hopefully it's whet your appetite for learning more. If you like this video, consider giving me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, or consider subscribing. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day.